Hey, what do you guys know about Tara Iti?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see.
Yeah, it all would have been cool to see.
When people ask me about golf courses, the question I get most often is, which one's your favorite? And this has always been a tough question to answer without some kind of explainer. I mean, the Old Course is my favorite course in Scotland for so many reasons. More on this in Season 2 of Tourist Sauce. Pioneers number 2 is probably my favorite course to play in the States. But my trip to New Zealand finally made that question easy to answer. That course is Tara Iti. The reaction to this answer is usually a look of confusion. I've never even heard of it. Where is it? I was in the same boat until it stormed into world top 100 lists in its first year, immediately breaking into the top 30 in some. This rarely happens for brand new courses. Usually it takes time for word to spread about a new layout, especially in a location as remote as this one. And unlike other courses in this season, Tara Iti is an invite-only private club. But despite being a playground for the ultra-rich, it is technically accessible to the public. But more on that later. Tara Iti is on the northeast coast of the North Island of New Zealand, about an hour and a half from the hub of Auckland. But that's if you're going by car like a peasant. GPS hates this place, and I had to travel the way our ancestors traveled, which is dropping a pin from the satellite view on Google Maps and following the blue dot to actually find the entrance. Of course, many members choose a more direct route, and no worries on finding a place to park that thing. Just throw it over there by that chipping green. When Los Angeles-based financier Rick Kane bought 570 acres of beachfront land near the town of Mangawai in 2012, it was nothing but a forest of pines. Kane hired Tom Doak to design and build the golf course, which was going to be a challenge considering the density of the forest and the difficulty of removing stumps and underbrush. The site was a struggle to prepare for a golf course, but once it was cleared, Doak said that if he didn't build a top 50 course on this land, then he had not done his job. The sandy site was a perfect base for fescue grass, and what Doak built is basically a giant playground of golf. There's no rough, and grass surfaces are essentially the same height from tee to green. I mean, seriously, the greens are nearly indistinguishable from the fairways, and the difference in mow height is just 5 millimeters, or about 1/5 of an inch. Like here, I love the way the surface of the 5th green just rolls into this tiny bunker. There are no tee boxes, just teeing areas, and the terrain just rolls perfectly together as part of one hole. It truly links the land and the sea, and it's a links course by the purest definition. And on top of all of this, the layout is nearly flawless, and it's so much damn fun to play. At this point, I'm already convinced that this is the best place on earth, but I hadn't even begun to see the extent of it. And realizing how at risk I am of sounding like Stefan, this place has everything. A wood-fired oven attached to the back of a truck, a garden where they grow all the vegetables for the compound, this crazy private dining area, a traveling halfway house, and alpacas and mini ponies. Jim Rohrstaff was my host, and although he'd already played 18 earlier that day, he was fired up to show me around the place that evening. It was easy to see the passion he had for Tara Iti, and he was mid-sentence in a story when I saw it for the first time. The view down the 18th hole, the dramatic sand dunes, and the sharp blue water. I think he saw the expression on my face change and quickly reminded himself that this was not something that I get to lay eyes on every day. And as spectacular as these views are, it's the sound of the waves that I remember the most. You never stop hearing it. It's almost as if they're piping them in from the surrounding pines. Armed with a couple red solo cups, some range balls, a 6-iron, and a putter, we set out for what turned out to be one of my favorite walks of the trip. With temperatures in the 70s and near perfect sunlight, this was easily the most fun I've ever had on a golf course without actually playing a round of golf. If you ask someone at Tara Iti if they have any specific rules you should know about, they'll tell you that they have no set rules, but they'll let you know if you break one. And at this time of day, there's no starter, there's no one in the pro shop to check with, and not one single person on the golf course. And we hit different shots from a variety of yardages, putted around the punch bowl third, and toyed with the contours of the layout for as long as we could. I got the full tour with a 5-star TripAdvisor tour guide, but you know those fuzzy things that you see on microphones? It turns out they're really important, as here's Jim showing me around on a perfect summer evening, giving tons of incredible insight that would have been great for this video, and here's what the audio sounds like. This is why I'm not a professional filmmaker. What really helped me gain appreciation for the subtleties of this golf course was this evening walk, and looking back on it, as fun as it was to play all 18 holes the next day, this was probably my favorite part of the entire experience. And usually we try to highlight a hole or two at each course, but I think I could break down every single hole out here and it would be justified. The fairways are wide and firm and just filled with layers of slopes and undulation. The ground game is heavily emphasized. If you're playing your approach shot directly at a hole, that's probably not where it's ending up. Even around the greens, your options for getting to specific hole locations are endless. The fourth is the first of 3 drivable par 4s. I quickly learned that out here, short did not mean easy. The options on these holes are endless, but the punishment for over-aggressiveness is very real. Even on the layup here on the fourth, there's this centerline bunker that makes you think about where you want to approach the day's pin position from. The 7th is the next reachable 4, and it's the smallest green that Tom Doak has ever built. With the wind coming hard off the ocean, it was tough to hold the proper line, and I made the mistake of not taking the advice of my caddy.
He said, hit a 3-wood. He said, I'm going to hit driver.
The back 9 is much more undulating, and the gradual climb to the northwest corner of the property takes you to the 14th tee. From here, you can see the whole layout, and the long par 4 plays downhill and right out towards the water. That blowout bunker to the left of this green is daft, and local legend has it that the bogeyman lives down there. The 2 par 3s in the final 4 holes are the holes that stand out the most. The 15th and 17th are both stunning visually, but they're drastically different. The 15th is long and meant to be attacked by running a long iron up from short of the green. The wind off the ocean carried my ball to this threatening situation, and you're going to have to take my word for it. This shot is way harder than it looks.
Oh no.
If you ask 10 different people what the signature hole is, you might get 10 different answers, but for me, the 17th is the one that comes to mind. I hit it all over the yard on this day, but this shot was especially memorable, and despite not shooting anything worth boasting about, what I remember the most is that I could not have been less concerned about my score and could not wipe the smile off my face all the way to the end. Sweetening the deal is a 3-hole whiskey loop that wraps around the clubhouse and never pushes you more than 50 yards from the bar. After dinner, and in search of a change in scenery with drinks in tow, we headed to the gender-neutral cave, where, of course, there's a putting green, a simulator, all kinds of testing equipment, and a bar. Y'all thought I was playing. This place legitimately has everything. And yes, that's comedian Bill Engvall for some reason. If you want to join Tara Iti, you have to be invited and you have to pay the 6-figure initiation fee and your annual dues, but perhaps the most important rule is that you can't be an asshole. If you want to try to schmooze a member to get an invite, good luck finding one. The club closely protects that information and doesn't officially comment on who is or who is not a member. Considering all this exclusivity, you might think Tara Iti's a place you're simply not allowed. Here they understand that this place is just too good not to share with the rest of the world. And one of the coolest things is that despite it being a very private club when it comes to membership, the course is actually accessible to guests, with one major caveat. Borrowing a policy from Sand Hills in Nebraska, guests are offered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to visit, stay on the property, and play the golf course, accompanied by a letter of introduction from your club. When asked about the policy, Jim told the New Zealand Herald, "We know a lot of people come to New Zealand just once in their life, and they are playing Cape Kidnappers, Jack's Point, the Hills, Kari Cliffs, and we thought, what a shame if they make it down here once in their life and don't get to have the best golf experience in New Zealand. In fact, one of the best golf experiences anywhere in the world." And on top of that, rumor has it, wink wink, that they're looking to build 2 more courses right down the beach that will be public resort courses. My lasting memory of perhaps the most memorable day of golf I've ever had was the level of comfort I felt the entire time. Tara Iti is the opposite of stuffy. You can wear jeans if you want, you can play as a sixum, you can take a few clubs and just walk around, or you can just sit and talk near a fire. It's the way they marry all of the elements, from the amenities down to the design of the golf course, the contours, the emphasis on the ground game, the strategy that comes in off the tee. I'm not sure any golf experience can truly be perfect, but if there's a place that comes closer to perfection than Tara Iti, I sure as hell haven't seen it. And with that, it is regrettably time to bring Season 1 of Tourist Sauce to a close. A special thanks to our partner, BMW, for helping make this stream possible. And we'd also like to thank all of the members that hosted us along the way, the clubs for allowing us to film and create this series, and the viewers for motivating us, encouraging us, and enabling us to live out this fantasy. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for much more video content in the coming months, and get ready for Season 2 and everything Scotland Golf has to offer.